The lost years of Jesus finally revealed. Introduction: the unwritten biography. The standard canonical Gospels present a striking narrative gap. They leap from a 12-year-old boy debating scholars in the Jerusalem temple, straight to a 30-year-old prophet emerging from the Judean wilderness. For centuries, legends rushed to fill this 18-year silence, imagining a young Jesus traveling to the mystery schools of Egypt, studying with Hindu swamis in India, or sailing to the tin mines of Cornwall with Joseph of Arimathea. However, by synthesizing the cutting-edge archaeological data championed by historians like Dr. James Tabor, with the esoteric cosmic landscape of the Gnostic texts, such as the Infancy Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Thomas, and the Apocryphon of John, a far more grounded, yet profoundly mystical narrative emerges. Jesus' lost years were not spent fleeing his homeland, but rather navigating the brutal social landscape of first-century Roman Galilee as a day laborer. Within that crucible of back-breaking stonework, he gradually awakened to a radical, internal understanding of the divine. Part 1. The poverty of the two doves. The narrative of the young Yeshua bar Yosef, Jesus, son of Joseph, is forged in the stark reality of absolute economic marginalization. While later theological accounts embellished his infancy with the golden treasures of Eastern Magi, the historical record preserved in Luke's primitive layers reveals a different truth. 40 days after his birth, his teenage mother, Mary, and her fiancé, Joseph, brought the infant to the Jerusalem temple for the mandatory ritual purification. The Torah required a lamb for a burnt offering. Only in cases of dire poverty did the law permit a fallback option. If she cannot afford a sheep, she shall take 2 doves or 2 pigeons. Leviticus 12:8. Mary offered the 2 doves. The family was virtually homeless, sheltering in a stone, cave-like stable attached to a crowded village guest house. The infant's first cradle was a common chalkstone livestock feeding trough. Socioeconomic stratum: first-century Roman Galilee. Growing up in the tiny, obscure ridge village of Nazareth, Yeshua did not inherit vast estates or rabbinic status. He inherited the status of a landless peasant at the absolute bottom of the imperial socio-economic ladder. Part 2. The mythic prodigy of the infancy traditions. As a child, Yeshua was already recognized by his community as terrifyingly different. The Infancy Gospel of Thomas records that his budding awareness of the divine spark within him occasionally erupted in volatile, miraculous outbursts. At just 5 years old, while playing by a stream on the Sabbath, he shaped 12 sparrows out of soft river mud. When his father Joseph sternly reprimanded him for violating the holy day of rest, the boy simply clapped his hands and shouted to the clay birds, "Go." The mud instantly quickened into flesh and feathers, and the sparrows flew away chirping. Yet, this cosmic power was unrefined by human maturity. In the crowded, tense streets of Nazareth, another village child accidentally bumped into Yeshua's shoulder. Exasperated by the friction of human frailty, the young boy declared, "You shall go no further," and the child instantly dropped dead. On another occasion, when a playmate fell from a rooftop and died, the grieving village accused Yeshua of pushing him. The young prodigy leaped down from the roof, stood over the broken body, and commanded the boy back to life to clear his own name. Even his early attempts at trade showed an unsettling circumvention of physical laws. If Joseph accidentally cut a costly piece of timber too short for a client's structural beam, Yeshua would simply take hold of one end, have his father take the other, and pull. Under his hands, the wood would stretch to its proper size. These early, chaotic displays of power foreshadowed a deeper realization. The material world was malleable, an illusion waiting to be mastered by the spirit within. Part 3. The Tekton of Sepphoris. When Yeshua was still a youth, Joseph mysteriously disappeared from the historical record, likely succumbing to the short life expectancy of the ancient working class. As the eldest son of a fatherless family, the burden of supporting Mary and his 6 younger siblings fell squarely on Yeshua's shoulders. The traditional English translation labels Yeshua a carpenter, but this is a profound linguistic mistake. The Greek word used in Mark 6:3 is Tekton. In the rocky, arid terrain of Galilee, timber was a scarce and precious commodity used sparingly for doors and roof beams. Houses, walls, and cities were built of stone. A tekton was an itinerant stone worker, a rough mason, and a heavy construction laborer. Nazareth, peasant, just 4 miles north of Nazareth, across a low ridge of hills, lay the city of Sepphoris. In 4 BC, Roman legions had savagely burned the city to the ground to punish Jewish rebels. Throughout Yeshua's teens and 20s, Herod Antipas was aggressively rebuilding Sepphoris as his gleaming, Greco-Roman provincial capital, the ornament of all Galilee. To find work, Yeshua and his brothers walked the hour-and-a-half mountain path from Nazareth to Sepphoris at dawn, assembling in the open marketplaces alongside hundreds of other landless peasants. Hired on a day-to-day basis, they toiled until dusk under a scorching sun for a meager denarius a day, barely enough to stave off starvation. This back-breaking labor shaped Yeshua's vocabulary. When he later spoke to his followers, he did not use abstract academic theories. He used the gritty imagery of the construction site. He spoke of digging deep through loose soil to strike bedrock before laying a heavy stone foundation. He talked about checking the alignment of a wall. He quoted the builders who rejected a flawed piece of limestone only for that exact rock to become the crucial capstone of the archway. Part 4. The Gnostic awakening amidst Roman opulence. Sepphoris was a stark, jarring lesson in systemic injustice. While Yeshua cut and hauled limestone blocks until his hands were calloused and bleeding, he watched wealthy Roman elites, tax collectors, and Hellenized priests glide through grand colonnades to watch performances at the new Greek theater. Yet, Sepphoris was also an intellectual and cultural crossroads. In its bustling markets and shaded plazas, an observant day laborer would encounter a vibrant mix of ideas: Essene mystics crying out against temple corruption, apocalyptic zealots whispering secrets of revolution against Rome, and foreign merchants discussing Greek philosophy. It was during these silent, grueling years of labor that Yeshua's internal spiritual landscape crystallized, aligning closely with the secret wisdom later preserved in the Gospel of Thomas. He looked at the massive, opulent stone structures of Herod's capital and realized they were monuments to a dying, material world. He began to understand that the true temple was not made of stone blocks laid by enslaved peasants. He realized that the oppressive Roman Empire and the corrupt religious hierarchy were products of a blind, material illusion. The true kingdom of God was an internal, cosmic reality available to all. As he secretly taught his closest companions during their long, exhausted evening walks back over the hills to Nazareth, "If your leaders say to you, 'Look, The Father's kingdom is in the sky, then the birds of the sky will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is within you, and it is outside you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will become known, and you will realize that it is you who are the sons of the living Father. Gospel of Thomas, saying 3. Conclusion. The ascent from the quarry. By the time Yeshua reached his 30th year, the transformation was complete. The volatile, miraculous child of Nazareth had been tempered by 18 years of grinding social reality, family responsibility, and deep internal contemplation. He had looked at life from the absolute bottom of the socio-economic pile, experienced the full weight of imperial temptation and systemic poverty, and remained uncorrupted. He laid down his iron chisels and stone-cutting hammers in the quarries of Sepphoris for the final time. He was no longer just a Tekton, shaping temporal limestone for an earthly tyrant. He had become the master builder of an eternal, invisible kingdom. Walking down from the hills of Galilee toward the waters of the Jordan River, where his cousin John was baptizing, the unwritten biography ended, and the cosmic assault on the empires of the world began.